Hey, friends. I'm going to tell you a story about my favorite aunt's whole wide world. I loved her so much, and she loved me, and she loved my kids. So let me go back a little bit. I'm going to go back a few years. I got into witchcraft at a very young age, and I had always had a drawing, like a pull toward darkness. And I always wondered, and my dad didn't have anything to do with me, so I never even thought about his side of the family. So I was always wondering who in my family was a witch. There had to be someone in my family. So I asked my mom, do you know of anybody who studied any occultism? She didn't know anything. I didn't see it growing up. I was always alone. I was always seeking knowledge on my own. I didn't know any other people who believed in this. Well, people believed in it, but they all feared it. But I wanted to do it. I wanted to learn about it. So I would watch movies and I would read books. I would go to the library at school and I would check out. There was only 2 books at that time on witchcraft, and I'd have them out all the time. And so many years go by, I grow up, life happens, everything, and I decided to move back to the state where I came from. And I told this aunt, who I hadn't seen her in many years, and I was so excited, and she was so excited, and we wanted to see each other. So before I left the state that I was living in, for many years there, I'm leaving out 1,000 details, but I had had so many experiences where I had encounters, unseen encounters, and I didn't so much deal in witchcraft, but I was a funeral director, and so I embalmed people, I cremated, I met with families, I saw dead bodies all the time. It was nothing but another day at work. But of course, I embraced it. I embraced death. My house was filled. Everybody's so afraid of antique dolls with the cracks in the face. I had 3 of them. I had incense burners from a church. I had so many things. I had at one time I had a baby casket. Not even a baby. I had a child-sized casket in my bedroom. I just collected all that type of stuff, and but I don't know. I never connect. I don't know. I didn't think it through. I had life going on, and I liked what I liked, and I didn't connect it with any demonic spirits or anything because I wasn't walking with God. It was just, I don't know, it just existed, and it was around me, and it was my life, and it just was what it was. But there were times, though, where they got extremely terrifying, so I went through a lot of that kind of stuff. I went through a lot of alien type stuff. So I was very familiar with things out of the ordinary. So when I decided to move back to this state, I made a decision, things that happened in my life, and I wanted to change my life. I wanted to live differently. I sold the majority of my stuff. I gave away more than I sold. I just wanted a fresh start. And so I packed up all my stuff and before I left that apartment, I spoke to whatever entities were listening. And I said, you're not going with me. When I get where I'm going, I want nothing to do with you. Do not cross the path into my home. Don't come into my property, my yard. I want nothing to do with any of you. So I moved here and I moved into this house. This is an old house. This was my grandmother's house. My stepfather's mother. So my step-grandmother. And she had died maybe 7 years, I think, before I moved in this house. So a lot of my videos you'll see like old-fashioned, like the walls and tile in the bathroom. That stuff, I believe, I would have to check with my dad, my dad, and ask him, you know, did you guys build this house? Because I think they did. So I moved in the house, and for a while, first few, maybe even months, weeks to months, I didn't experience anything. And I wasn't sure because she died in this house. So I was like, okay, you know, whatever, don't come forth. I don't want any part of it. I made it very clear. And so I get in this house, and I hadn't seen anything, nothing came to me at night. I didn't see, I didn't hear, just nothing. So my aunt came over. So she walks in, and my aunt, she is, I knew that she was very she believed that she was Cherokee. She ended up doing a ancestry DNA test, and there was like no Cherokee whatsoever, but the family had passed down that they were Cherokee, so she had embraced it. So she always had necklaces, silver necklaces with feathers and earrings and all that kind of thing. So I knew that. I just wasn't aware of anything else yet. So she comes in, and it's the best thing ever, and she's there. And my dogs, I had, at the time, that was when I had my 2 pit bulls. They took a liking to her, and that was all great, and it was really nice, good visit. She had me interpret a dream, and I was able to identify something in the dream that, like, she called her daughter, and you know, confirms some things. So I had a connection with her in that way that I had never known before. I didn't know it. I won't say it yet. So we had a great visit, and she left. Man, I don't know if it was the same night, next night, I don't even remember. But after she left, there was a presence in my house. And I don't think I caught it first. It was one of my dogs. It was Blue. You know what? I only had 1 pit bull at that time. I only had Blue. I hadn't got my other dog yet. Then that means, yeah, I had just moved here. Yeah, I wasn't here real long. So that night, Blue started going to my bedroom door. And Blue was a dog that if he loved you, he loved you. But don't get on his bad side. And Blue was growling, and I hadn't even had him that long. And he, something was upsetting him. Something was in my bedroom and it was upsetting him. And he was kind of pacing, and he would look through my bedroom door, and he would growl, and he would bark, and he would come in a little bit, and he would back up, and he would pace. And I at the time, I took out my phone and I started to video it. And Blue was doing that, and I had it on the video. And there was something about the corner of my room, and he would he started going deeper and deeper into my room, and now he's facing the corner of it, and he's still doing his thing. And the house changed. You could feel something was in this house, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And so I picked up the phone, and I remember it was around midnight, and I called my old pastor from years before, from the city that I had just moved from. I hadn't seen him. I had stopped going to church years before, but I knew him, and I had his number, and I called him, and I was like, there's something in my house. I need you to rebuke. I need you to get something out of my house. And he went to town. He was I put him on speakerphone, and he was directly talking to this thing. And the thing subsided, but I knew that it was lingering. And the way I knew that, so I felt like it had backed off. So me and the pastor, we concluded the conversation. I got off the phone, and when I went to bed that night, Blue slept at my feet, and he faced that corner. And he would, I think I must have been waking up throughout the night, because I remember Blue was like, there was a grumble. There was like a deep rumble. Blue was growling. He was very lowly growling at this thing. And I kid you not, after that night, things started happening. And one day, it dawned on me, my aunt is a witch. She's a witch. She brought these things. You know, I was new here. I hadn't seen her in years. I was like trying to get settled in. And I started piecing things together. And I was like, I opened the door. I let her in this house, not knowing that she was basically a host. She brought things in with her that I didn't want. And there's only so much I had, because Satan can't cast out Satan. And I wasn't with God. I was not walking with God yet. So when I told these things to leave me alone, they did, but it ain't like I forced them to. They backed off on their own, and the first opportunity that they had, they came in. They came rushing in, because there were multiple presences, entities that started doing stuff to me. So anyway, I learned after that, I had seen a post where my cousin had posted about the same aunt. Aunt so-and-so came to see me, and it was so great, and she opened her suitcase, and she had a whole half of a hawk, like the wing, the half of a hawk. I think she had sage. Oh, and then I learned my aunt was so into crystals. She had a whole thing where, I don't remember where she went, but it was like this secluded retreat she went to, and they burned, what did they have? They had like wings, and they were burning stuff and putting smoke up. They were just doing all this stuff. And my aunt Oh, and she gave me a crystal as well. And I started to learn, I had been so focused on my mother's side of the family, I forgot about my father's side. This is where it's coming from. These are the witches. So one day, okay, so time went by, and my aunt didn't come over anymore. She had her own. She was so drama. I learned that she was very, very needy, and I had my own stuff going on. And then, just my dad. They found out he had cancer, and he came here, and they moved in together, and I didn't want any part of that. Y'all don't even have anything to do with me my whole life, and now you want... No. No. I had my own stuff going on. So I still loved her, and I still talked to her, but at a little bit of a distance. And in the meantime, I was, like I said, I was straightening up my life and changing my life, and I had decided to come back to God, and that was a whole process that I was going through at that time. And I went through my house, and I threw away, like I pulled, them big garbages with the wheels, you take the curb. I pulled that sucker to my back door. I propped my door open, and I started going through my house, taking so many things. Like I had statues of like Egyptian gods and stuff from funerals and stuff like that, and I just started chucking this stuff in the garbage. I threw all this stuff away, and I started to purge myself, and I started to read the Bible again, as I did many, many years ago. So I pulled it all out, dusted it off, and I'm little by little, I'm going through these changes. And one day I was on the phone with her, and I don't know what exactly I said. I might have said, I believe she was talking, because she didn't know any of this change yet, and because I said, I don't do that anymore. I'm a Christian now, or something like that. And you know what she said? You already know. I'm a Christian too. I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, I pray every day. And I'm thinking, I didn't like go ham on her or nothing. I just was like, I was thinking, you just brought multiple demons in my house. You do ritualistic things that I did when I practiced black magic. How are you combining the two? So I was like, and this I said to her, I said, but the Bible specifically warns you to stay away from witchcraft and sorcery, and to not meddle with magic. This is what I'm gonna say. From that day forward, she didn't want anything else to do with me at all. She went from adoring me to cutting me off just like that. A few years later, actually, and my dad, I'm going to leave him out of it. Forget it. Never mind. A few years later, she was diagnosed, and today she's dead. And right before she found out, I saw her one more time at my cousin's house. And she sat on that couch and had nothing to say to me. She had nothing to say to me. She didn't, and she was so standoffish. So she didn't want to hear. She wanted to throw out the term, I'm a Christian, but she didn't want to hear anything the Bible had to say about the witchcraft that she loved, the New Age techniques that she was using. She didn't want to hear any of it. She cut me off. And today she's dead. Be careful who you talk to. Be careful who you put your trust in. Be very careful who you let into your home. People bring things with them. And I know you've heard this 1,000 times before. When you're in a room, everything's cool, you're laughing, you're happy, and somebody walks in and everything changes. The energy in the room changes. This stuff is real, people. This stuff is real. People love to deny things that they don't know anything about. But I'm here to tell you these things are for real. And you have to choose either Jesus or Satan. Jesus stands for these things. Satan stands for these things. You got to pick one. You can't be with one and date the other. It's one or the other. There is there's a thing called white magic. You have black magic and you have white magic. Don't believe it. It's the same thing. It is the same thing. There's no pure, there's no white magic. There's no good magic. It's all magic with a different facade, with a different mask. It's the same. So, again, just be careful what you bring in your home. Be careful what you do. This feather that I have here, I'm going to throw it away, but this is I have 3 little cockatiels, and one of them's little tail feathers came out, so that's what this is. Like I said, I'm going to throw it away. I don't do that. I don't do the feather stuffs. So, I enjoyed our talk. I hope you did too, and I'll see you later. Bye.